Very good morning to all my Facebook friends. I have been requested by the Sister Nivedita University to speak on a particular topic. The name of the topic is Application of Statistical Technique in Social Research. Due to some technical problem, I have started the process, but somehow it is delayed. But anyway, let us start this again. Now, from the very beginning, I must thank to all of you, because already I have spent some time, but somehow for some technical problem, I am sorry for this. I apologize for this. But our main topic today is that application of statistical technique in social research. First of all, what is the need of this particular area? So, all people who are associated with the research, even the people who are associated with the teaching professions, you will know that from 2010 onward, for MPhil and PhD courses, there is a compulsory course for the research methodology. The reason is very simple, because research earlier also there, now it is also there, but the problem is that whenever we follow any scientific technique, then the research will be, or the outcome from the research will be unique in nature. Unique, not I am saying that it is 100%, but maybe that 90% they will be alike, 95% they will be alike. Otherwise, if we go for research and the research is, the decisions are coming subjective, then obviously this type of research will make a very ambiguous conclusion, ambiguous decision about the research. So here is the major contribution of the statistical techniques. Now, the problem is that whenever we go for any sort of research, there could be different type of research. We don't have any specific area of this, but the problem is research can be of many types. In general, they can be empirical, they can be statist or conceptual. I am mainly concentrating on the area, that is why this particular area is necessary at all, because for any sort of research, maybe that is in industry, in any social area, these are the main components which is very much necessary nowadays. One is we are working under more complex situation, like the present scenario you can see in the COVID scenario also. So we are working in the very complex environment. Whether it is social or in the business area, the structure is also very much complex in nature. Then the major part is that increased uncertainty, that is huge amount of uncertainty nowadays arising. So how to handle this? With the help of this particular research, we will try to solve the same. Changing individuals' requirement not uniform in nature. Nowadays they are changing, and in the micro level, obviously each individual are different basically. So changing market scenario, changing social scenario, social and environmental securities, large error cost, complex information system, and the major problem is that reduced reaction time. You don't have any reaction time actually, and largely which is coming is the very complex situation. That is why the competition is also increasing neck to neck. Now, under this scenario, or before I go to my main topic, let me share this. That means I have shared my PPT with the university authority, in a sense that Sister Nivedita University Authority. So those who are the participant over there, they will distribute the same. Even for my other friends also, if you send me the request or if you send me the email ID, I'll be definitely sending the same. And you can send all the comments to my inbox. Definitely I'll be answering them one by one. Now the problem is that whenever we go for any sort of research could be of many types. That means first of all, for any research, a researcher must have the basic knowledge on the following area. Since I will be concentrating mainly on the empirical research, there can be the different type of research like this: conceptual versus empirical research, descriptive versus analytical research, applied versus fundamental research, quantitative versus qualitative research, cross-sectional versus longitudinal research, conclusion oriented versus decision oriented research. So research could be of many types, but more specifically, since I am trying to elaborate the application of statistics over here, so I will be concentrating mainly on the empirical part of the research, or the empirical research more specifically. Now where I am going for the empirical research, I have some problem. That means whoever may be the researcher, what type of basic knowledge we require for this, that I will just briefly touch upon this particular point. The first one is, I must have the basic knowledge of mathematics. Without mathematical knowledge, it will be little bit difficult to apply the statistical concept. So a glimpse of mathematics will be required. Obviously, I am talking about the application of statistics, so some statistical knowledge definitely it will be required. And in the social research, mainly we call this as the research methodology, but those who are associated with the business area, it will be similar to that as the marketing research. So research methodology and marketing research, they are exactly in the similar way. Only the people who are coming from the business area, they can apply the, they can call this the area of the marketing research, or the people who are from the social research, that means different types of subjects in the social science, they usually call this as the research methodology. Along with all these subjects, we need also the operations research technique. Some operations research technique will lead us to for the better decision. They will help us for taking or deciding about our actual strategy. And last but not the least, the major contribution is of the computer application, because huge amount of data nowadays available. So how to utilize this information, how to utilize the data and get extraction of this data. Mainly I will be concentrating on how to get the extraction of the data and ultimately utilize this in the research area. Now research methodology, let me explain a small thing about that, a small difference between the mathematics and statistics. Usually whenever we ask any one like this, what is the value of 2 plus 2? The people say, like say it's 4. But being a statistician, I will say that value will be in between 3 to 5. There is a high chance that the value will be 4, but the value will be in between 3 to 5. So what's the basic difference then mathematics? Statistics is a little bit flexible subject and mathematics is a very rigid subject. If I come to some example, like say accepting few fundamental constants, say mass of proton, charge of electron, gravitational constants, gravitational acceleration, etc., accepting few, maybe that maximum 10 number of constants, everything is changing in nature. And the latest research is saying that the velocity of light is also changing from one star to another star. So whatever we know, it is true for the solar system only. So as a result of this, whenever we are taking these two subjects, that means pure application of mathematics, they cannot run our life, because nothing is uniform, nothing is mathematical in the life. So whenever we go for any research which is associated with our real life cases, So they will not be uniform in nature. As a result of this, one cannot apply this mathematics strictly so that the decision will be mathematical in nature. So here is the major application of this statistical techniques, but there is a small difference between the research methodology or marketing research and the statistics again, because in the area of statistics we know there are the two divisions of statistics. Actually, one is called the descriptive statistics, other is called inductive statistics, but both the area have the major role is that how to collect the data, how to analyze the data, how to get interpretation of the data, and how to utilize this interpretation for our decision making system. But research methodology, they have some more steps. Research methodology broadly classified into, or any sort of, whenever we are going for any sort of social research, they are broadly classified into 5 categories. One is if I am the first time I am going for any research, so how to formulate a problem. So the problem formulation is the first step. Problem formulation consisting of problem definition. You have to depend on the literature review, etc. I will be coming that to the micro level later on. But initially there are 5 steps. The first step is the problem formulation. Second step is the designing of research. Third step will be data sources and data collection. Fourth step will be data preparation and data analysis part. And the final step is the report writing part. So this totality, that means about any research starting from the 0 level, starting from the problem formulation to report writing, everything we can learn in this particular area. So obviously for any sort of social research, it is very much important that if I go through any of this scientific technique, then the outcome will be coming from this research. They will be uniform in nature and one can apply the same. Otherwise the same type of research, if we are depending on different type of subjective decision, they are ambiguous in nature, they are not applicable in the scientific way. So if the outcome is scientific, then obviously there is a high level of confidence, high level of applicability of this result. As a result of this, for any sort of research, one must go through this type of tools and techniques. Now, huge amount of data we are collecting nowadays, or any sort of, that is digitization of the different system is creating huge data. So how to handle this data? Obviously computer has a major role over there. So if I consider these 5 steps of the research methodology, the first step is the problem formulation. I am not going to that part right now. Designing of the research. These 2 steps are totally planning part. That means before going to data collection or any type of empirical research, we have to work on these first 2 steps. Then the second step, that means the data sources and data collection, the third step, as well as the fourth step, data analysis, it is solely dependent on statistical techniques. And report writing, obviously that is little bit different from statistical technique. So out of these 5 components, the phase 1, phase 2 and phase 5 may be that they have the 20% contribution. So 80% contribution is the statistical techniques. That's why we need this type of subject. That means what is the role of this statistical analysis in social research. Now, whenever I am quickly coming to a particular part, that is this huge amount of uncertainty is there for any sort of problem handling, any sort of research. So if I consider a 3-dimensional situation, the first dimension is the uncertainty dimension, whose minimum value can be the 0, that is the certain situation, and the maximum value can be any amount of uncertainty with the problem. So handling uncertainty is in one sense the application of the subject statistics. The second one is, the second dimension of any sort of research is the how many variables or how many parameters we are handling. That is the second dimension, where a little bit different type of mathematical knowledge also we require to handle this type of situations. And the third one is the dynamism, that is the changing behavior of the situation. So if the dynamism is zero, the situation will be called static. If the dynamism is, it can be of any amount actually. So being a researcher, I have to handle these basic three components. One is the uncertainty, how to handle this uncertainty, how to handle this huge number of variables at a time, and how to cope up with this dynamic situation of the problem basically. So in a three-dimensional situation, if I am a decision maker, if I am a researcher over there, so I am flying somewhere here in the three-dimensional system, where the first axis indicates the what amount of uncertainty is associated with the problem, how many variables or how many parameters you are handling at the same time, that is the second one, and what amount of dynamism you are handling, that is also very, very important part. So my major discussion will be concentrating on the application of statistics, how the statistical knowledge help us in taking the decision with this particular area of research. Now, a major problem with the statistics is that application of statistics today, maybe that the huge number of researchers, they are applying this particular subject, but we need to know some pros and cons of this subject. That is, whenever we are going for application of this subject, we must know that, because some remark I must say, sometimes some famous statistician who have uttered this type of remark, an ounce of truth will produce tons of statistics. So be careful about that. Statistics can prove anything. So it is not possible. Statistics is an unreliable science sometimes. So not only the flexibility of the subject, but also the application wise the subject is very much flexible. So we must conscious about the application of the subject, and I will be coming to some of the positive and negative application of this subject. Regarding applications also, a lot of statements are there. You can see from my PPT part. So science without statistics bear no fruit. Statistics without science have no root. It's a famous statistician Bowley who has the statement like that. The knowledge of statistics is like the knowledge of foreign language or algebra. That is, in interdisciplinary way, always you can use this subject, and there are a lot of applications also. That is the application area, mainly just some of the areas I will be mentioning. That's why this subject is sometimes called the interdisciplinary in nature, like say policy making, economics, business, management, astronomy, geology, geography, meteorology, botany, zoology, physiology, medical sciences, anthropology, environmental sciences, psychology, education, engineering, every discipline, whenever you are going for any sort of research, this is a very important component. Statistical measures are very important component for decision making system. But we have to restrict one thing, which is the misuse of the subject. There is a popular statement by King: statistics are like the clay of which you can make a god or devil as you please. Means, without knowing properly this particular subject, this subject can be misused in any way. So lot of other statements are also there. I am not going to, but there is a popular statement by Benjamin Disraeli. There are lies, there are damn lies, there is statistics. Why people say like that? I will be coming to explain this particular statement, because that will improve our application skill basically. Now roughly I am coming that what is the concept of statistics? Statistics is a subject dealing with how to collect the data, how to present the data in a simpler way, how to analyze the data, how to get interpretation of the data, and finally how to take the decision from this data or conclusion from this data. Now before I go to this particular area, first of all, let me take some example which are why this subject is so uncertain and how to handle this subject with delicacy so that the application of the subject will give us the fruitful results. First of all, the statistics is broadly classified into two categories. One is called the descriptive statistics, including data collection, data tabulation, central tendency feature, dispersion, skewness, kurtosis. They are broadly called the descriptive statistics. What is the role of these descriptive statistics? Role of the descriptive statistics is that, like, it will give you some satellite vision about the data or some helicopter view about the data. The problem is that whenever I am having huge amount of data, it is very difficult to take any sort of decision without interpretation of the data. So sometimes this data will be misleading in nature, and obviously second part of the statistics, which is coming as the inductive statistics, which has the major role, is that from the small part of the totality we have to come to the decision about the totality. Because maybe that for any situation I am having, say, 1 crore population, but I am observing only 500, 1000, 2000 individuals, and I am collecting the data from them, and based on data, the type of decision I am taking, if I apply this particular subject, there will be, say, a certain degree of confidence or certain degree of accuracy, like say 90%, 95%, 99%, 98%, and so on. So it depends on the situation. That means how efficiently I am applying the subject, the degree of accuracy will also depending on that area. So the first thing, that is the descriptive statistics, comprises of, I can give you some example, like only average. Whenever the students are asking us like this, say one of the students who has answered only 2 marks out of 100, other student who have answered 98 out of 100, and if two of them at the same time ask me, sir, what is the average score on this particular subject, I will say 50. But this proves nothing. That is, nobody will be happy with this. So if we take this average as well as the standard deviation, even in case of standard deviation also, if we calculate the standard deviation for, or any measure of dispersion for, say, 5, 7 and 10, 55, 57 and 60, 95, 97 and 100, in all the cases you will find the dispersion remains same. But whenever we are taking together, means average as well as dispersion, for example mean plus minus standard deviation, without knowing the data I will be able to say that okay, around 70% data will be lying within this range. Mean plus minus standard deviation, without knowing individual data points I will be able to say that okay, 95% data lying on this range, and mean plus minus 3 standard deviation, within which almost 100% data will be there. So see that is the advantage. Whenever I am collecting huge amount of data, it's not possible for an individual to go through each and every component of the data. But if I apply this descriptive feature of the data, so for any sort of research you will find that is the reason why we use descriptive statistical technique for any data set. Because the people who are acquainted with this subject, they will be able to identify where from you have collected the data, what is the geographical behavior of the data, what is the other behavior of the data. That will be clear from the data set itself. So data itself, they will create the impression that the where from and how, what is the nature of the population, it will be clear from the data. And a very popular statement in the inductive statistics, I will start with the inductive statistics, a very popular statement all of you are familiar with. People say that if I press a single rice only, you can have the idea about the total rice has been boiled or not. But let me give you a question like this. If I reduce the quantity of water to boil the rice, the decision will be uniform. If you mix up several types of rice and put it in the rice pot, will the decision be uniform? So as a result of this, that is, if we have some knowledge of statistics, I am coming to some practical, some positive application of statistics, like say the examination system, the entire examination system, that is a statistical decision. Because from your entire syllabus, there could be say 500, 600, 1000 questions if we form a question bank. But in an examination, we set only say 10 questions, for example. Now, can you say me how many different type of questions question papers can be formed? The question paper can be formed is 1000 combination 10, which is an astronomical figure. But we are testing a particular individual by only one instrument. So could you imagine the amount of risk we are taking? But once your mark sheet you are getting, that becomes a typical measurement of your life, whenever, or your career, whenever you are going for any sort of your career advancement or career, you will find that mark sheet is playing a crucial role. Like in our physiological system, we are having say 4 to 5 liters blood in our body. But if whenever we are sending for testing, any sort of testing, because ultimately thousands of pathological characters in our physiological system, we take the decision based on 1 ml or 2 ml of blood which is collected for testing. Even if you send the same sample of blood for different type of path lab, you will find the results are different. So how could you come to the concrete decision that what is my, for a particular pathological character or particular pathological parameter, what is the value of that parameter in my blood? So everywhere there is a flexibility. That means we cannot take the proper decision, but more sophisticated instrument means less error. So you are coming closer to the actual value. I am not saying this is the actual value. That's why this mathematics will not play a very crucial role in our real life cases. If I come to the different type of example, like say in physics, the property of light, the reflection, refraction, etc., everything was properly explained by the great scientist Newton. But when the concept of diffraction of the light comes, diffraction of the light means if we switch on the light on the other room, you will find some extra light in your room. If the light travels in straight way, how it is coming from other room, which is 180 degree or say exactly just beside that, so light cannot penetrate the say 10 inches or 1 feet wall. So this typical phenomenon was unable to explain by the great scientist Newton. As a result of this, the new theory of light, Huygens principle of light, came. So research is such a thing, whoever may be the researcher, if a particular phenomena is not properly explained by this particular experiment, people will go for the new one. So uncertainty, regarding uncertainty, sometimes this pseudo uncertainty. Why this statistical knowledge is so important? Because like say all of we are of the, maybe that some of people who are having the same age group, your heights are not same, your weights are not same, your thousands of pathological characters are not same. So how could you apply the same technique to take the decision on the same individual? So change is the only constant, as people say like this. So here also the same, that is you have to take the decision That is, whenever we are applying any sort of drug for a particular patient, every patient they are completely different from other, having their thousands of pathological parameters, all are almost different. So how could you expect the similar result? Because when any sort of drug we are using, if it is of the constant dose, so it is having the constant amount of different chemicals. So how could you expect the similar result from them? Sometimes the uncertainty is not visible. We find most of the people, especially the retired people, they are making queue before a post office for the postal savings. Why? Because they think that the postal savings, any type of bond or any type of savings certificate, etc., they think that it is a government bond, the rate of interest is fixed, etc. So it is a sure case. But nothing is sure. What do we do with this money? We want to purchase our satisfaction. Right now, if you are investing 1,000 rupees, with the help of this 1,000 rupees, what amount of satisfaction you can purchase? Are you sure that you will be able to purchase the same amount of satisfaction after 8 years of time with this double amount of money? So nothing is sure. Something we find this as a pseudo sure or artificially it is sure. So the study of uncertainty means study of statistics. They will not eliminate the uncertainty from our life. Rather, what they will manage uncertainty in such a fashion that it will reduce the uncertainty of our real life cases. So more the uncertainty, more problems are there. So this statistical knowledge, the different type of tools and techniques available in statistics, they will help us to take the decision that it will minimize the uncertainty a lot. Not necessarily it will eliminate the uncertainty. If you eliminate the uncertainty from a problem, then that problem is really, rather that problem will be unrealistic in nature. That will not match with your real life cases, real life research. So if the uncertainty is handled in such a way, let me take some small examples. Since I am not able to show you the PPTs, let me take some other type of example regarding this uncertainty. Suppose I don't have any idea about the expected life. As per 2011 census, the expected life of male is 67 and expected life of female is 69. So if I am not having any uncertain, rather I am having any knowledge on this expected value, whenever we talk about any expected value, there is an uncertainty component associated with that. There is a probability component associated with this. So uncertainty means how this uncertainty is associated with the expectation. So we are having some probability of surviving till our next birthday. If you go on adding your age into the corresponding the probability of surviving till the next birthday, and if you go on adding this over the entire life, that gives the expected life. So if we are not having this particular knowledge, then I will be able to say that okay, since the 67 years of age is the expected life currently, so till my 67 years of age I will be keeping all the assets, all the bank accounts, etc. in my own name. But anytime the failure is running with me, who knows? You can see the current scenario. So who knows? Anytime the failure is current with me. So the bank is asking for second name or nominee of the account. Why? They want to handle this situation with less uncertainty, or they want to minimize the uncertainty of the problem, because otherwise if all the accounts are in the single name only, everything will go to the suspense accounts once after the failure of the individuals. So as a result of this, we will take the help of this subject and we will take the better decision, so that subject will lead us to the scientific decision, That is our ultimate objective. That is one part. So coming to the inductive statistics also, some of the areas to know what is uncertainty all about, some probability theories, some distributional behavior. Distributional behavior means, say, all of we are familiar with this binomial distribution, Poisson distribution, normal distribution, exponential distribution. These are nothing but some mathematical functions. They will be matching with the data collected from the real life. So whenever this data is collected from the real life is matching with any type of mathematical curve or mathematical distribution, we can take the decision with the help of this mathematical curve without knowing the individual data even. So if somebody asks me whenever this electric or electronic item will fail, it is difficult to answer me the same. But if I use the exponential distribution, I will be able to say that, okay, by first week, so many percentage of item will fail, so keep your inventory accordingly. By the second week, another percentage of item will fail, so maintain your inventory accordingly. So that's the way how we are handling this uncertainty. That is the way how we are handling this uncertainty. Even nowadays, under this scenario, how we maintain our, if we go to any public hospital, rather say private hospital or something like that, sometimes your bill amount becomes 5 lakh, 6 lakh, 7 lakh. So uncertainties, that is the health problem, can occur at any point of time. So should I keep these 5, 6 lakh or 10 lakh rupees with me always? How I am handling this uncertainty with me? Because I am giving an amount of Mediclaim policy, it can be 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, and this TPA card, I am keeping that card with me so that anytime the problem occurs, I am utilizing this. That's the way how the uncertainty is handling with the situation basically. So after this, there are some techniques in the statistical theory which is known as the sampling technique. That means it's not possible to consider each and individual component of the overall subject. That is why we partially depend on the data set. That means we collect some 1%, 2%, 5%, 10% data, and based on data we try to take the decision about the entire population. That is the advantage of this inductive statistics. So after having some knowledge on this uncertainty, we go for the sampling techniques. That means what should be the sample size, how many people, I rather say if my population size is of 1 lakh, what should be, how many people I should take for the survey and so on. So a lot of tools and techniques are there. I am not going in details of this, but there are several approaches by which we can, there are budget restriction approach, there are confidence interval approach. So a lot of approaches are there, but we can apply these approaches and we can come to the decision what should be the sample size if the precision level is of this. That is, it depends on the precision level. For example, in a particular situation out of 1 lakh population, if I collect 1,000 individual for data collection, then my precision is say 95%, and if I take 2,000, maybe that the precision will be 96% only. So how to increase the sample size so that our decision will be up to that particular precision level? It depends on the situation, it depends on the budget of the research and so on. That is one part. Then the second part, that means if the chapters are designed in such a way, like sampling is the first part, that means where we are collecting the data only, and that is linked with the research methodology. As I have said, the third phase of the research methodology is the data source, data collection. So once the data is collected, why we collect the data? First of all, we want to estimate something. That's why the chapter comes estimation, the next to the sampling. So there are a lot of techniques of estimation, like say maximum likelihood technique, like say least square method, like say minimum chi-square method. So a lot of techniques are there, and some desirable criteria for the closeness between. Before I come to this particular part, I must define what is parameter and statistic. Parameter is the actual value of that. Suppose in my, I am having the sugar level say a certain value like say 100, it is the parameter. But who knows this actually 100 or not? Whenever I am getting that figure from any path lab, sometimes I am getting it is 97, sometimes I am getting 110, sometimes I am getting 91 and so on. So all these are statistic value. So statistic is changing in nature, which is calculated from the sample. Parameter is which is the actual value. So our objective for any sort of research, our objective is to know the actual value, but unfortunately we have to depend on the sample. So sometimes sampling is compulsory, sometimes sample is optional. Suppose I am having only the population is of 500 units, I can go for the census or the complete enumeration. But for like say this blood sample test, it is not optional, because if I cannot pull out the total amount of or total quantity of blood from the body and send it for testing, and after having the test, I can push it the blood and the machine will restart again. So sometimes this sort of like any business scenario also, we are manufacturing all small items, screw, pin, etc. Is it possible to inspect each and every item? Sometimes you have to take the decision based on the sample inspection. But whether this particular type of decision or how much it is close to the actual value, that will be decided by this desirable criteria of the estimation, namely the unbiasedness, consistency, sufficiency, efficiency. That is, if a particular type of statistics satisfies the maximum number of these criteria, they will be much closer to the actual value. Again, in our real life cases, like in any type of job, say, if somebody is selected for the job, then there is a provision like this for probation period for 6 months or 1 year or 2 years and so on. But unfortunately, for any statistical decision, whether it is correct or not, you cannot rectify this later on. As a result of this, how much the sample value is giving the decision about the population, what amount of accuracy, what amount of confidence level, so that is decided by the testing of hypothesis. That is why any sort of research, the testing of hypothesis is also a very important part, because the overall decision, how much efficiently I am taking the decision, it is coming from the testing of hypothesis. There are a lot of techniques, as I'll utter the name of this or mention the name of this tools and technique. It's not possible to consider each and every technique. Maybe that in some other session we will be considering any one of the component. So that is one part. The other part, that is in case of statistical technique, usually there are 3 types of characteristic of the data. If the data is qualitative, that is called attribute. If the data is quantitative, they are called variable. Variable broadly classified into 2 categories. If you can count them one by one, like say number of accidents, number of deaths due to COVID, number of printing mistakes, number of defective items, all these are discrete. You can count them one by one. Number of stars, but some of them are countable, some of them are not at all. That is, if you can finish the count, that is called the finite case. If you cannot finish it, that is countable infinite case. Similarly, in the continuous variable case, they are called uncountable infinite. But coming to the research methodology, in most of the books or most of the literature available, they will define this in a little bit different way. Let me consider the same. First of all, there are several primary type of scales. Mainly 4 different scales are there. Some data will be nominal scale data, some data will be ordinal scale data, some data will be interval scale data, some data will be ratio scale data. So nominal scale data, if I just try to make the distinction between the scales, then if I consider basic 3 parameters, namely order, magnitude and origin, nominal data has no order, no magnitude, no origin. My telephone number, my mobile number, any identity, other number, PAN number. So they have no order, no magnitude, no origin, excepting identification, they have no other role. So we don't require any advanced type of statistical techniques for the nominal type of data. Coming to the ordinal data, for example, say educational qualification, sweetness, bitterness, the degree of intensity of the color. So there is a order basically. So in case of that order, you have to take the data in that particular way. So in ordinal data, you have the only order. You don't have the magnitude of that. You don't have the origin of that also. So when we just instead of marks, when we say something in terms of the grade, it has some order only, but exactly without knowing the proper scale, exactly it is very difficult to say that so somebody has got the 62% and the other student who has got the 63%. It is very difficult to say that they are coming from the same grade. So it is very difficult to say without knowing their individual marks, who is better than the other or something like that. Then interval scale data, where they are satisfying two parameters. One is they are satisfying the order, they are satisfying the magnitude also, but they do not have any fixed origin. For example, temperature, you can have Kelvin, you can have the degree centigrade, you can have degree Fahrenheit. So origins are different. For centigrade it is 0, for Fahrenheit it is 32, for Kelvin it is minus 273 and so on. Similarly, so all the data nowadays we are collecting in a bipolar scale form. You can see nowadays the questionnaires are designed in such a fashion, in most of the 5-point scale, 7-point scale, etc. All these are basically this type of bipolar scale and interval scale data. Ratio scale data are some type of data which are, whenever we are taking or collecting the data is per unit. That is, if I ask income, if I ask weight, height, etc., that always indicates the per individual or per person or something like that. So initially we need to know this basic difference between the primary scales, because whenever we go for advanced type of analysis, for example, we want to know the interrelation between the nominal scale data and ratio scale data, then we have to apply one of the statistical technique known as the analysis of variance. If we want to know the ordinal data, for that particular example, I can cite an example something like that. For different type of products, their sales figures are available. The brand of the product and the sales figure are available. The region of the product and corresponding sales figures are available. So in that case, analysis of variance technique will be the technique which will help us to take the decision. In other way, if the educational qualification, we want to know the association between, say, educational qualification and income of the individual. So in that case, educational qualification is a ordinal scale data, income is a ratio scale data. So you have to apply over there the rank correlation, because one of the component is not strictly numeric in nature, ordinal scale data. So you have to apply the rank correlation. So entire analysis, statistical analysis linked with this particular structure of the data, structure of the data sources rather. Similarly, some of the analysis of the data, when even we go for any analysis of the data, sometimes we try to analyze them in a way like this, or these scales are designed to identify the stimulus or corresponding coefficients. In that case, that is called the stimuli centric approach or item centric approach actually. Sometimes we try to classify the individuals. In that case, that is called the subject centric approach. Sometimes we try to classify both of them simultaneously, both stimuli as well as the respondents. So that is called the response approach. So depending on the research situation, we have to apply the appropriate technique. Then there are a number of scales are there, rating scales and ranking scales. I can simply just mention some of them only, because we don't have that much of time to cover each and every component. Like say, very simple type of scale, whenever you are designing a questionnaire, dichotomous scale, yes no type, male female type, something like that. Category scale, which part of the city I am staying, category scale, Likert scale, semantic differential scale, numerical scale, itemized rating scale, fixed or constant sum scale, fractionation scale, verbal scale, staple scale, graphic rating scale, consensus scale, multidimensional scales, Q-sort scales, etc. Now the problem is that nowadays for any sort of decision making system, only yes no is not enough. So how much I am liking a particular or preferring a particular product or services, etc., that depends on lot of things. So number of parameters we develop for designing a questionnaire. So all these statistics, all these psychological scales, that is the scales are developed from the psychology, mainly psychology or applied psychology, and we are having the application, statistical application on them. As a result of this, we can extract the information in the micro level, otherwise the extraction will be in the macro level. That's why, so one is the, for any type of research, one component is statistical component, mathematics, etc., that I have already identified earlier. So here also some psychological behavior, that is the scales, the knowledge on scales also required to develop any type of questionnaire, because the questionnaire is such an instrument for any sort of empirical research. Ultimately that will lead to the conclusion or decision of the research. So we must go through them. Even not necessarily always we will be depending on the rating scale only, there could be ranking. Sometimes if I ask 10 items to rank them, it is very difficult, because second time if I give the same 10 items to the particular individual or respondent, the rank could be different. That is why sometimes pair wise we sometimes compare this or that. So we are having some type of scales for that. Thurston pair comparison scale, Thurston equal appearing interval scale, force ranking scale, composite scales, a lot of scales are there. They are having also major role in the data analysis part. So broadly that I am coming to the part that means overall data science or data analytics, what is the role of this in the research? The role is that since I have to handle this huge amount of data, so I must have some primary knowledge on the mathematics, I must have some knowledge on descriptive statistics, I must have some knowledge on the inductive statistics, and the misuse of the statistics also, that I must know. I'll be coming to that point just a little bit. Then non-parametric statistics, sometimes the data behavior is not exactly with the any mathematical curves, not like normal distribution, not like the binomial distribution, not like the Poisson distribution. So some non-parametric statistics, that means not any structured way, the data is not following any structured distribution. So in that case non-parametric statistics also a very important component. Multivariate model, that means initially I have said that there are basic 3 dimensions. The second dimension is the whenever you are handling huge number of variables. So obviously multivariate technique will play a crucial role over there. To handle the dynamism, forecasting models will be also very important. Then operations research technique, just I can cite some of the examples. Operations research technique, usually whenever there is no uncertainty, we use some mathematical techniques, LPP, linear programming techniques, transportation techniques, the assignment techniques, where you don't find any application of uncertainty or statistical theory. So with the help of mathematics only you can handle the same. But one of the problem, keep it this in mind, that you are having huge number of variables. So to handle huge variables, we require some different type of mathematics. Just briefly, I am just identifying the area of mathematics, mathematical knowledge you must have, then only it will be easy for you. One is the ordinary algebra, other is the abstract algebra, the third one is the matrix algebra, because to handle this multivariate case, you must have the basic knowledge on the matrix algebra. Similarly, some application of calculus like say differential calculus and their applications, integral calculus and their applications, some knowledge on coordinate geometry to know the graphical behavior of the data, graphical behavior of the situation, and not necessarily to all, but for some of the researcher, the trigonometry knowledge, all that is the angular behavior also very important part, especially in astronomy or etc. That polar, not necessarily always Cartesian coordinate will be appropriate. So to handle the polar coordinate or polar measuring system, we have to go for the angular part, which is actually trigonometry will play a crucial role over there. And overall, above all, this operations research technique, when I go for any decision theory, when I go for any say queuing theory, when I go for any say game theory, say replacement theory, say Markov analysis, etc., all are part of the operations research. Operations research are nothing but the strategy making techniques, that is to learn how to, what strategy will be the best strategy for this particular situation. So in that case, if that uncertainty is totally absent with the problem, then we can handle them with the deterministic model. If the uncertainty is partially present with the model or situation, then we can handle the situation with the help of mixed type of model. If the things are totally uncertain in nature, then we will go for the stochastic or probabilistic model. So depending on the amount of uncertainty associated with the problem, we have to handle this in that way basically. Coming back to the application of statistics, I was talking about the misuse of the subject. A major misuse of the subject is that I have already cited some positive application of the subject, that is like say from small part of the totality we are coming to the decision whether the total decision is correct or not, rice boiling case or this blood sample test or the sample item inspection. But some misuse of the subject, rightly mentioned by Benjamin Disraeli, that there are lies, there are damn lies, there is statistics. That is, if I misuse the subject, that will make everything mess. That is very, 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 I would say, especially I am giving the weightage on this, that is misuse of the subject. Nowadays, in most of the research, people are very keen about application of this subject, but without knowing the misuse of the subject. As a result of this, some example I want to cite, they are self-explanatory. Like initially I have mentioned that the two students are asking about their average marks. The way they are, that is, there are different type of average, which average is appropriate in a particular situation, how to know this. So in most of the cases, the way we apply the average like that, 98 and 2, the average is 50, that is very good. But the way I have applied this subject is that if I put half of my body in the refrigerator, rather deep refrigerator, which is of -50 degrees centigrade, and half of the body on the steam, which is the 100 degrees centigrade, then the average comes to 25 degree, which is the economy mode of the air conditioners. So we will not be comfortable in that way basically. So similarly, before we apply the subject, one should remember that, like say, I am talking about the misuse of the subject. For a particular cardiac surgeon, the success rate is say 80%. So in a particular morning, there are 5 open heart surgery, 1 by 1 patients, they are coming to the OT and coming out of OT after successful operation. Then the 5th patient on that day only 5 patients were there, 5th patient is not willing to go to OT. How can you explain this statistically? So that's the misuse of the subject. In one situation, the head of the family who has to cross the river, in the summer season he has to cross the river, he is having say 20 family members, he measured the height of the family members, and finally he came to the decision that the average height of the family members is 5 feet. Then he measured the depth of the water of the river at the different places. Nobody knows to swim, so he measured the depth of the water, and average depth of the water comes to 4.5 feet. He instructed all the members to cross the rivers. After crossing the river, he found that some of the members are absent. So if the subject is not properly applied, our decision is also that the self-explanatory. I am not taking any specific example in that way. So automatically the decision will be that is, these are the some of the misuse of this subject basically. So whenever we are applying this statistical technique in social research, definitely the person who are from social science subjects, they are not as strong as the researcher who was strictly from the statistics. So regarding the application, I am not going to the derivation or etc. of the subject. Regarding the application of the subject, they must be very careful, they must be very cautious about the application of this subject. Whether this particular result, that particular researcher is explaining, is it similar to the other researcher is also explaining in a similar way, or it is totally ambiguous in nature. Sometimes it happens like this, I am applying in a particular, that is, more you know the tools and techniques, that decision can be refined also. Like I am taking an example, the different brand of baby feeds are there. We want to know that whether they are increasing the weight of the baby properly or not, or they have the different role of increasing the weights or not. But when I am applying the analysis of variance technique, I got the result that okay, it is significant by applying the F test, and we got that okay, different brands of baby feed, they have the different impact on the children. But if I go for little bit advanced analysis, all the children, they are not of similar type. Even if I consider the birth weight as one parameter, so birth weight are completely different to individual to individual. So when we are applying this technique, you must keep in your mind that the birth weight is one of the factor which is called the concomitant variable. So if you go on applying the ANCOVA technique, analysis of covariance technique on the same type of data set with additional information about the concomitant variable is their birth weight, then maybe that your conclusion is just the reverse. See that, then which one will be acceptable? So more you know the subject, more you know the application of the subject, more you will be having competency about the data analysis. So that is why it is very important that one must know this. Regarding the dynamism also, I was talking about this, that is before Kepler era, everything we used to think about this, that everything is earth centric, everything rotating around the earth. But gradually we came to know that everything is sun centric. The latest research is saying that our galaxy, which is elliptical in nature, whose major axis is of 100 light years, minor axis is of 60 light years. So sun along with its member moving around the galaxy with the distance 25 light years from the center of the ellipse with 45 kilometer per second velocity. See the level of dynamism. So if you ignore dynamism, that means whenever you are a true researcher, you have to have the knowledge on this, how to manage this uncertainty. You have to have the knowledge on this, how to handle the more variables at the same time, and how to handle the dynamism also. Regarding dynamism, I can set an example. that is the time series analysis. That is, something is changing with respect to time, something is changing with respect to place. If you are staying in this city, you are having one type of expenditure level. If you go for some other city, staying in other city, you have a different type of expenditure level. That is one type of dynamism. So with respect to geographical region, that dynamism is changing, the dynamism is occurring. Even with respect to time, like what is the interpretation of dearness allowance? Dearness allowance is the amount of compensation you are paid to maintain your same standard of living. That is the price of the different commodity, they are constantly changing. I am not saying increasing or decreasing, constantly changing. So to keep you in the constant level of, rather constant standard of living, the dearness allowance, that it can be sometimes plus, it can be sometimes minus, given so that your standard of living remains same. So that is also dynamic behavior. That means once you apply any time series knowledge or forecasting knowledge, so that is one type of technique for capturing this dynamism behavior. An example for this time based dynamism, in time series there are 4 components. One is called the trend, other is called seasonal, other is called cyclical, and the last one is irregular. That is the things we are suffering from right now, they are basically irregular, but other 3 components are estimable. So cyclical component, it can occur because of many reasons. They can be because of technological reason, they can be because of environmental, political, economic, other several reasons. So one example I can cite, this RPG Sargan, this music. In our childhood days, we used to see the LP records, then small records, then cassette, then CD, then DVD, and now it becomes, everything is obsolete. What is the reason behind this? It is called technological change. So I had also huge amount of this cassette, CD, etc. So that day it was playing in my mind that this when I was making scrap and discard them, that was playing that this was, in terms of our epic knowledge, the cassette and CD, they are basically our sharir, this is our body. But YouTube, this is the new thing, technological development, it becomes Atma. So the lot of change, the business scenario, etc., they are changing because of this technological change. So you have to accept this dynamic behavior, you have to accept this. So all the tools and techniques which we are having, they are ultimately applicable to this situation, so that we can take more scientifically the research decisions or the scientific conclusions. That is our ultimate objective, but I'll just mention some of the statistical techniques name, or the, like already I have mentioned, descriptive statistics, correlation regression analysis, probability and distributions, sampling and sampling distributions, testing of hypotheses, analysis of variance and covariances, design of experiments, time series analysis, forecasting, statistical quality control, psychological scaling, demography, official statistics, etc. Similarly, if I come to the multivariate techniques, because ultimately whenever you are having more variables, for multivariate technique, like multiple regression analysis, not only the simple correlation, you can have the multiple correlation, partial correlation, part correlation, canonical correlation, multicollinearity problem, principal component analysis, factor analysis, cluster analysis, discriminant analysis, conjoint analysis, multidimensional scaling, multivariate analysis of variance techniques. Even I was mentioning about the cross-sectional data and longitudinal data. To handle the longitudinal data, you have to have the knowledge of the time series analysis and forecasting. For cross-sectional data and longitudinal data simultaneously, whenever using this type of data, the panel data analysis is also nowadays very popular. So obviously all these multivariate techniques will play the crucial role whenever we are going for any sort of research. Finally, regarding these operations research techniques, some optimization techniques, transportation assignment techniques, game theory, decision theory, queuing theory, replacement theory, inventory models, simulation models, reliability theory, networking theory, sequencing problems handling, Markov analysis, and obviously role of computer will make a crucial role over there. And when I am coming to the role of computer, again we are having a major role of statistical packages. There are popular packages which are used by the social researcher, SPSS package, which are mostly used package. Similarly, there are Statistica, eViews, StatView, CStat, Minitab, Stata, JMulti, Gretel, SAS, R+, S+, etc. So lot of problems are there, a lot of packages are there. Now lastly, I am coming to the research methodology part once again, because when I am going for any sort of research, the micro components of the research is like that. When you are formulating the problem, the micro components are, first of all, from the broad area you have to define the problem first, that is whoever the researcher, first of all you have to define the problem, then on the basis of the literature review develop the problem, develop properly the research objectives, develop properly the research hypothesis. Then coming to the second step of the analysis, rather say research methodology, the type of research design. There can be majorly three types of research design. Some are called descriptive research design, some are called exploratory research design, some are called causal research design. That is why the things are happening. If I want to search the reason, that is the causal research. And if I am first time doing some type of research, that is exploratory research. And some researches are regular basis research, descriptive research. So not necessarily in a single thesis or single dissertation or single research, only one research design technique will be applied. There can be multiple use also. Similarly, experimental design, the way you are collecting the data, directly you can apply your statistical techniques, respective scaling techniques. Questionnaire designing is an art also. So these two steps are, that is, first step is the problem formulation, second step is designing the research. These two steps are planning stage. Then the third step comes data sources and data collection. The micro points I can explain like this: the type of and source of data, method of data collection, the sampling will play a crucial role over there, sampling design, sample size decision, and ultimately the field work. All the organizations like the National Sample Survey Organization, CSA, Central Statistical Organization, they are continuously collecting, in our like Bureau of Economics and Statistics, continuously they are collecting the data. So data collection, we are having also some scientific method of collecting the data, we must know them. Finally, data preparation and data analysis. So for data preparation, not necessarily once I get the questionnaire, filled in questionnaire, I can directly enter the data in that way. So that the coding, editing, data entry, then univariate data analysis techniques, multivariate data analysis techniques, if required then forecasting techniques. So obviously the statistical package will play a very crucial role over there. And finally the report writing. So report writing is also a scientific way, because if you follow a specific, because in my PPT I have already given a series of books and literature for your consultation regarding how to pursue a research. So you will find the research report preparation is also at least 1 or 2 chapters is dedicated for research report preparation. That is different component of the research report like this. And OL written report, they have different components. How to look like the title page, table of contents, statistical tables, charts and diagrams, executive summary, introduction, methodology, data analysis and findings, summary and conclusions, recommendations, limitations, future scope of research, annexure, properly annexure should be there, bibliography. There is some delicate difference between bibliography and references. So you must know this bibliography is the superset to references actually. So for any type of research, dissertation, etc., we usually write the bibliography. Then finally, even the way of presentation, that is also briefed over there. So one can go through any standard technique. So that is the overall subject. That means the major role of this subject for any social research is that, first of all, try to know the application of the subject, try to minimize the misuse of the subject, because in most of the cases we suffer from the misuse only. Lastly, I can cite an example regarding the misuse or regarding this statement of the Benjamin Disraeli. In our childhood days, you used to see that in Park Circus Maidan, every year the circus shows are there. So we have seen the events of animals also. So maybe that within 2000 square feet, that is the main in front of our gallery, within 2000 square feet, 10 tigers are showing some events. So just only on this typical observation, I am calculating within 2000 square feet, 10 tigers. So in total number of tigers available in West Bengal, by simple multiplication or by unitary method application, I am saying that I am reporting this to the central level, is that there are 60 crores tigers in West Bengal. So it is beyond the lie. There are lies, there are damn lies, there is statistics. Means if somebody is using the subject in that way, it is some type of estimation or extrapolation, something like that. If you use the subject in so worst way, then obviously the statement of Benjamin Disraeli is correct. That is, there are lies, there are damn lies, there is statistics. So you are saying something which is beyond everything. So try to minimize the misuse. So it has huge positive applications. It has also huge negative applications. So our objective is that is the ethics of the research. Finally, what is I am coming to just one point extra, that the ethics of the research is that you have to apply the subject scientifically. Not that only huge amount of statistical analysis will make the research up to that level. Research has its own objective. Only statistical tools and technique will support them, will supplement them for the scientific decision making. Thank you all. I'll be able to give you your individual answer. Thanks to all my FB friends and my colleague and my students for giving me the patient hearing. I am really grateful to the Sister Nivedita University for giving me the opportunity. And again, I am taking apology for this, that initially for some technical problem, we could not run the show in a timely rather. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.